I was muted. Hey, everybody, it's Sarah from Ruthies Notions. Thank you so much for joining us today as we learn more about the scan and cut. I can't wait to show y'all all of the things so y'all can just learn more and just get started playing with your machines and use it to its full extent. So I have lots of stuff planned for today, but also I have more classes planned for the future. Today we're going to be talking about the Scan and Cut DX, its features, the different mats that you can use with it, the different things that you can do with it. And also I'm going to be showing y'all how to, cut out vinyl, layer vinyl, cut out fabric on your machine. And there's so many different ways to do this. And that is why I want to do these live videos. But yeah, so we have some comments. Hey, Miss Donna, we've missed you too. Hey, Miss Gail, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody who's on here. We appreciate it so much, and we can't wait to do more of these classes. So this is, last class we figured out some technical difficulties, what we need to change. So let me adjust this a little bit. Hey, Miss Robin. Let me see if I can do this way. There we go. Let me see. So this is the Scan and Cut DX. I absolutely love this machine and the capabilities that you can use with this machine, cutting out your appliques, cutting out vinyl, and just creating in general. So let me scoot this closer. And can you turn off that one light right there? Just bear with us through the technical difficulties. Let me see. Let me adjust the setting real quick. That way y'all can see the screen better. No, it's in here. How's everybody doing? What projects have y'all been working on lately? And do y'all have any questions while I'm figuring this out, how to get the screen so y'all can see it better? Have y'all been playing with your machines? Do y'all have any questions about what y'all maybe want to see in the future if we can't get to it today, or maybe what y'all need help on? Hi, Miss Beverly, all the way from the UK. That's awesome. Etching on glass. I plan to do another one of these videos. Two I have in mind. One, I want to do, out of the box projects that you wouldn't think you could do with your Scan and Cut, like etching on glass, and, scanning in artwork and turning it into something. Like I've scanned in a clip art of a keychain and then turned it into a keychain. So stuff like that, etching on glass. We've also done this class before. It was a hands-on class where we did doormats and used the Scan and Cut to cut out a stencil to be able to, paint on it and do stuff like that. Sublimation on HTV. And another class I want to do, can you turn that on again? Another class I want to do is all about the Canvas workspace. There is so many things that you can do in Canvas workspace, and there's one program for Canvas workspace, but there's two different versions. There's an online version, which you could go to Google or whatever browser you use and then type it in there. And there's an app you can download to your computer, or there's software you can download to your computer. And both have different functions. I'm going to touch on them a little bit today. I'm not going to go into much detail about Canvas workspace just because there's so much that you can do. But again, I plan to do that class so that way I can show y'all even more and talk about it in more detail. So sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm still trying to figure it out. I know there's got to be a setting on here somewhere. We're going to go over all the buttons and their uses. Hi, Miss Sissy. How are you? It's so good to see everybody on here. Thank you for bearing with me while I figure this out. I thought maybe there's a setting I can do on here. Let me see. No. Bear with me just a little bit. I am so sorry. I'm going to get this figured out. While I'm figuring this out, I don't know if new people have hopped on here. Comment down below any classes that you want to see for the scan and cut or just in general, and different projects you might be working on lately. I know there is a setting somewhere. Of course, it wants to work whenever you're setting up, but then whenever you go live, there's always going to be something that doesn't work. But we are going to figure it out. I wonder if I can scoot it closer. You see the glare I'm trying to work with?
I wonder if you... Oh, that almost got it.
I wonder if I try turning off the light again and see if that helps.
Okay.
Nope, that made it worse. Okay, turn it back on. I have Micah here. She's helping me. Is there a connection/link for the 10 needle PR 1055 to send or receive embroidery outlines for applique? There isn't such thing yet. I am really hoping and praying that they add it soon. They do have a My Connection for the Luminaire, the Stellaire, the hey Miss Pam, can I borrow you for a second? For the Luminaire, the Stellaire, and I'm hoping they're going to add more soon. So as of right now, they don't have a connection feature for the 10 needle, but they do have other ways around it. There's got to be a way, I know, but one of those things, I don't do it often, so I can't think about it. If you come around, you can see it better. Sorry, I'm having Miss Pam help me. Sometimes we just need a little extra help. So I don't know if you want to be in the video. You are.
I can see it.
But the glare is so bad. We've tried turning off the light. I thought there was a setting where you could turn down the screen brightness. I know there is in the other machines.
I've never seen that.
Okay. Any other ideas? We tried turning off the light, scooting it closer. If I scoot it closer, this is the best it gets, but it's just not dimming down enough to where they can see the actual buttons. Turn, hey, Miss Rosie, turn brightness down on the scan and cut screen. That's what I'm trying to find. So I'm in settings right now, this little wrench. I know it's hard to see on the camera. That's what we're trying to figure out. They have language, unit, cut area, pattern interval, background, cut speed, cut pressure, cut amount, half cut, cut pressure, cut mode, blade adjustment area, draw speed, draw pressure, seam allowance, fill, additional line, auto shutdown, buzzer sound, opening screen, which I think it would be right there. Does the scan and cut screen tip up anymore for the glare?
Oh, let me help.
It goes down. It's still
the glare though. What if I turn the light off with it?
Try it now. It just makes it worse. Turn it back on.
What if I held the camera? Would that help?
I don't know. When I move it closer, it doesn't like adjust to.
Like if I picked it up though, you think it would help?
That works. You can hold it for 2 hours.
Oh, I had to leave in like 15 minutes. It's not gonna work.
Okay,
is it?
hold on just a second. We're going to adjust the camera to make it work.
Of course, on the day I have to leave early.
It's okay. Everybody, this is Micah, if you haven't met her.
Hi. Not much help, but I
Okay.
can hold a tripod.
I wonder if it'll just like,
Sit like that.
yeah.
Well, look at that go.
Okay.
If it falls, we're sorry.
Yes. So we're going to work with this today. We can redo this video when I do the scan and cut again. How about try the camera from an angle? Can y'all see better? The way it's propped up is really funny if y'all could see it. It is not the most ideal, but we're going to work with what we have for right now, so that way we can go ahead and get started. I will plan another live class, and when I do it, I will have either a different camera that has more settings, or I will figure out where the button is to turn down the screen brightness. That's better. Okay. All right. This is what we are going to work with for right now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. Thank you for sticking in with us throughout the technical difficulties. I said before, if you have any questions, please just put them in the comment section. I can see all of them, and then we will kind of go over them. We have lots of stuff planned for today. And I do have classes that I'm planning in the future for Canvas Workspace and kind of out of the box projects. So stay tuned for that. So I'm just going to start with some buttons on the screen. So right now we have our Wi-Fi symbol in the top left. If you've never connected your machine to Wi-Fi before, you can actually press that and it will bring you into your network settings. You'll have to turn it on. And then we're going to press Setup Wizard. It's going to search for all the Wi-Fis in your area. You click which one you have, press OK. And then since I've already connected it before, it just tells me that I have some saved information for the password. Do I want to continue? And I can press OK. And then it will go ahead and connect to the Wi-Fi. Once it connects, it will give you the connected to WLAN. If you start getting error codes, one way to see what the error codes are is to go to brothersupport.com, and then you can select what machine you have, and then they will tell you, okay, this 01 code is incorrect password, or something like that. So that is one way to kind of problem solve if it's not wanting to connect to Wi-Fi. Also, you have some more settings in here. If we scroll down, the one arrow will scroll down one page, and then the double arrow will actually jump all the way to the bottom. And Miss Lisa, she says, is the wrench for settings? Yes, it is. And I'll go over that button in just a second. So I'm just going to scroll down. You just have some more settings for Wi-Fi. I'm going to go ahead and hit the back button. So the wrench is for settings. It is at the bottom right-hand corner. And if we click that, we have a bunch of different settings. Nope, that made it worse. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to fix it. So we have language. We can change here by just clicking the arrow and selecting what language we want. We have unit. When you get your machine, it will probably be in millimeters, and I like inches, so I just changed that right here. Cut area. This is very important. Whenever you have a design on your artboard, if your artboard looks like this without the little arrow and it just has this black space right here, that means you need to go into the setting and you need to extend your cut area. So you can either do it by clicking and dragging, or you can press 12 by 12 or 12 by 24. Sorry, I was trying to grab the arrow, and change the mat size. Now, if you're wanting with the Scan and Cut DX, and we'll go over the mats in just a second, you have several different mats, but you also have two sizes you can pick from. The standard, or what comes in the box, is the 12 by 12. You'll get the low tack mat, which is the blue one, and you'll get the standard mat, which is the purple one. But if you choose to purchase those extra, like the 12 by 24 to do a bigger area, you would change your cut area in this setting. And to get back to that setting again is just the wrench down here, cut area, and then you would select which one you have. We have the 12 by 12 and we're working with that one. So I'm just going to select that one and hit OK. We have pattern interval, background, which background will make more sense when I actually scan something in. So this background setting, you have 3 different buttons. You have off, which it won't show any background at all. The next one up, this will actually, so when you're scanning in your vinyl and you already have your design on your artboard, if you're scanning to see exactly where it's going to be placed, if you have a black vinyl, that cut outline is also black. And so sometimes you can't see exactly where the edge of the cut line is. And this is the perfect setting. That one will actually gray out whatever your scanned image is. So that way you'll be able to see exactly where that cut line is going to be placed, if it's over the where your vinyl is, or if it's going to be in the area where your vinyl is. And then the first one right here, that will just show you a, like if you have red vinyl and you scan that picture in, it will actually show the picture for red, whatever color hue it is. It won't gray it out. We have cut speed. So in your settings, if it is default, it will have the black box around it and white text. If it is not default, it'll just have the black text. I leave that at standard, which is 5, unless I'm doing a project that maybe just needs to go a little bit slower, like certain fabrics, or if I'm doing paper or something like that. Cut pressure, I always leave that on auto. Very, very rarely do I need to change that because of this machine having the auto depth reader. It'll go down and it knows how thick your fabric, your vinyl, your paper, whatever you're working with, it knows how thick it is, and it makes the adjustment for that. So I always leave it at auto unless it starts to give me trouble. Then I'll start tweaking with the settings. But most of the time, if I do start having trouble, like let's say in certain areas it's not cutting the best, I will actually, and I'm going to show you this, take my blade out and check it to make sure if anything's stuck to it, see if it's dull and needs replaced. So there are other measures that I do before I start changing the cut pressure. Cut pressure for the manual blade, again, I leave that at default. Cut amount, I do it auto. You have, your settings where you can change 0.5 millimeters, 0.3, 1. I just leave it at auto. Half cut, we will be going into more detail about this later, but half cut is for whenever you're using like adhesive vinyl or HTV, which is the heat transfer vinyl. Whenever you're cutting things like that, they have 2 layers to them. Let me grab this piece real quick. So this is HTV vinyl, heat transfer vinyl. You have I'm going to peel it apart real quick. So you have this clear sheet, which is called your transfer sheet, and then you have the actual vinyl. So half cut, what it does is it cuts the vinyl, but it doesn't cut that transfer sheet. So that way you're able to peel it off and then stick it down to it. Same thing with like the sticker vinyl or the permanent vinyl. If we have it off, it's going to cut all the way through. So why you would want it off is, fabric, or if you're doing paper or something like that. Cut pressure on half cut, I leave this on auto, which I think is right here. We've been doing different projects, and so that's why they're kind of moved around, but also I get to show y'all where auto is on these settings. That is just the cut pressure for the half cut. Again, I leave that on auto. I don't change most of these default settings. Cut mode, and that's for your rotary blade, which I'm going to go over the different blades also. And then blade adjustment area, you can scoot it over to where it only, will do it to this point. I leave it all the way Again, I leave most of my stuff at default. The only thing I really change is I will toggle between half cut and not half cut, or the speed if I need to, or the millimeters versus inches. Draw speed. You have the option to use pins on these machines. So I have done it doing, you can trace out with, let me show you. It'll make more sense when I show you. With your machine, depending on what model you have, the 225DX actually has regular pins in it. The 330 only has these washable pins in them. And these are for, marking your area if you're going to be using your fabric to be sewing, or just for different purposes. So the draw speed is just asking how fast do you want it to, draw. If you have something that is very detailed, I would slow it down. They do have extra kits that you can purchase, and to be able to get like the calligraphy font and the pins to use for that. Draw pressure, I leave this on 0. Unless your pins are dull, you shouldn't need to change that at all. Or not dull, but like worn down. Seam allowance. So we have a setting in our machine, and I'll show y'all where that is, on how to add a seam allowance. So if you're using your machine to cut appliques or something like that, that seam allowance, depending on what it calls for, you will want to change it in the settings. Normally, I would say it's 1/4 inch. And we do have that setting. You have millimeters, and then it will move into inches. So if we needed a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we would bring in our design, engage that button, and then it's automatically going to add 1/4 of an inch seam allowance for us. Fill. We have fills in our machine, and that's what you can use the pins for, or the other pins. So you can, like, let's say you had a shape and you wanted one of these fills drew into it, you could. And there's 5 different fills you can pick from. This one will just kind of fill it all in one color. Fill line spacing and fill directions, those are just settings that go with that fill that you can kind of edit it and play around with it. Additional line, this is a setting that I will show y'all in the edit screen, like seam allowance and the fill. But the number of additional lines, it will go over it an additional time, so that way it actually cuts what it's supposed to, and you don't have to worry about it. So I don't really play with those settings, like I said before. Auto shutdown. So if you don't use your machine within a certain amount of time, it will automatically shut the machine down, and you will have to turn it back on. You can raise that up to 3 hours. Now, if you program it for an hour and you're still cutting out fabric or cutting out HTV, it does not count that. It's just meaning that it hasn't cut anything and you haven't touched any buttons on the screen for an hour, and that's why it's shut down. Buzzer sound. So originally your machine will make a beep noise whenever you press buttons. You can actually turn that off in settings, so that way you don't have to hear that. Opening screen. So when you first turn on your machine, it wants to show you the little pictures. You can actually bypass that and just make it come into, your home screen. And that would be that setting. So we have ours off, so it just automatically goes into the home screen and doesn't show the little pictures. Scanning, cutting, position. Sorry, I clicked the button before I could do it. Scanning, cutting, position adjustment. You should never need to do this, but if you do need to, it has very good instructions on what to do and what to use. So it says install the blade holder and a mat with the sheet of white paper attached into the machine. Shift the scanner level to position 1. After the machine is set up, press start. So it'll basically just adjust your, how do I word this the best way? It will adjust your position for your cutting based on where you place that, and kind of just a overall adjustment. So the number, this is your personalized machine number. Mine will be different than yours. This is what you're going to use whenever you link the two machines together, or link your scan and cut with your computer and Canvas Workspace, or if you link the scan and cut in with the Stellaire or the Luminaire. Version number, this is the, it just shows you the version your machine is at. If you do have your machine connected to Wi-Fi and you have an update available, it will let you know if you need to update, whether it's on Wi-Fi or using the USB. Machine information, this is just your information of your machine. You know, you have the maximum scanning area of a 12 by 24, maximum pattern number is 900, and the files that it reads. And then machine registration. So ours is needs to be done. But whenever, I'm going to delete this real quick so I can show y'all. Whenever you don't have your machine registered, what it will look like is this. If you click register, it's very good about taking you step by step on what to do and how to register it. And this is how you register it with Canvas Workspace. If we scroll down another one, we have premium functions. So these are, the premium functions are kits that you have to purchase, whether it be, they don't have the rhinestone kit anymore, but rhinestones, you have the embossing, foil, paper piercing, stuff like that. If you have any of those, you can press on, and that is why on the home screen, if you scroll over, that's why we have region emboss, and we have, there was another one, roll feeder. I'm going to scroll all the way down, premium functions. And it gives us these extra settings whenever we're in the edit screen, which I'll show y'all. And then we have a reset button. We can either reset our network or reset our machine to default. So do y'all have any questions so far? I just hit the home screen. We're going back home. So that is all the settings in the little wrench for your machine and the different stuff that you can use with those. So let's say we wanted to bring in a design over from either Artspira, or we could bring a design over from a USB. What we would do is we would plug in the USB from the right side of the machine, and then we would go to retrieve data, and we have 4 different options. The scan and cut machine, that is all of the designs you have saved to your machine, whether it be from a flash drive, Artspira, Canvas Workspace. You can save those to your machines. If you're bringing something in from a flash drive, you would just hit the flash drive and it would read all those files you have on there. If you're bringing something in from Canvas Workspace, you will press the little computer. And if you're bringing something or sending something wirelessly over from Artspira, that would be the little cloud with the pocket. If y'all aren't familiar with Artspira yet, Artspira is a free app that you can download. They do have a paid subscription, but if you have Brother embroidery machines, the scan and cut, the print moda, or the sublimation, this is an amazing tool that you can use with those machines for free. Free cutting files, free embroidery files, and if you get the paid subscription, you'll get even more features. So I will make sure that these are linked up so that way I can show y'all just a little tidbit of Artspira, and maybe we can cover it in more detail whenever we go over the Canvas Workspace, and maybe just do a class on all the different apps that you have with these machines. We have our test cut right here. We also have this setting. That's hard to see. We also have this setting whenever we are going to cut our project out. That's okay. Sorry. Okay, it's very hard to see. I was trying to adjust it so that way you could see better. But we have our little shape up here, and that's just going to test to make sure that we can actually cut this and it's going to cut good. We have different shapes that we can use by just pressing the shapes. And then we have a square, triangle, and angle, and we can actually rotate those depending on what we're using. and we can size them. We can either click and drag and move it, or we can press the little arrows and then manually move it, which I'm going to move it down. That way y'all can see, hopefully. There's our little circle right there, and that's where it would test cut it. We have pattern. Pattern is all our built-in designs. So this is where we're going to find our shapes, our Disney. If you have the 330, if you have the 325, you may not have Disney, but you may have some different ones right there. Our fonts. We also have some borders, some quilt blocks we could use for appliques, or we have, you just have tons of different fonts, and you have tons of different built-in designs that you can use, built-in sayings. And you can scroll, there's hundreds of different ones. Okay. Next, we have scan. So there are several different ways to scan in this scan and cut. You can, I'm going to grab our map real quick. So we have a scanning frame, which you can purchase. This is the 12 by 12. They also make a 12 by 24. So let's say we want to do direct cut. Direct cut is, I'll give you a few examples. There is printable sticker vinyl that you can purchase off websites, and you can actually print out stickers. And then what I did is I laid the sticker on, or the sticker vinyl on my mat. I scanned it in using direct cut. It identified the shape around it, and then I told it to cut that one, and it cut it out for me without me having to take scissors and trim around it. Or if you have a piece of fabric, and let's say there's a bunch of different shapes or different animals on there, and let's say you wanted to take the giraffe animal and just cut that out of that whole piece of fabric. You could scan it in, it'll identify all those little shapes, and then you could tell it which one you wanted to cut out. So that's direct cut. Scan to cut data is what we would use. You can use direct cut with this. I use the other mats, but you do have the option for this one. Scan to cut data is something you would use with this scanning mat. So in the sense where we use a keychain outline clip art, we would just print out that paper of the clip art, slide it underneath this little clear sheet, and then scan it in so that way it can identify all those lines. And then we could actually scan to a USB. So it'd scan in our image and then save it to the USB, so that way we could take it into not my design center, I'm sorry. We could take it into Canvas Workspace or another software, so that way we could edit it. We could make it into, you know, a rhinestone outline or anything like that. And then we have to where we can transfer it wirelessly over to Canvas Workspace. Whenever we have these linked together, then we'll be able to transfer them wirelessly, and that button will be ungrayed. If we scroll over, some people may have some of these features and some people may not. The roll feeder is a, I don't want to say new thing. If you have the 225, the 230, you will have the roll feeder 1. If you have the 325 or the 330, it'll be roll feeder number 2. The roll feeder number 2, they made some adjustments to it to where it'll feed in more easily, and they kind of fixed some issues they were having with the 1. They both work amazing. This is something where you won't have to use a mat to be able to cut out projects. You can use rolls of vinyl instead and just hook it into the roll feeder. It will automatically cut it out for you, keep it straight, and you just trim it whenever it's done. And then if you've ever been into our store by the checkout counter, on our window, we have about a 3-foot frozen scene that was actually built into the machine using the roll of vinyl and the roll feeder. So with the roll feeder, you can either press attach the roll feeder. It's going to take you through 15 different steps on how to attach the roll feeder and what you need to do in order to use it. If you already know how to attach it or you've already attached it, you can say start to cut rolled material, and you have a few different options. We can bring in the built-in Disney designs. We can bring it in from a USB, bring it in from Canvas Workspace, or we can transfer it over wirelessly through Artspira. So I'm just going to press the Disney just so we can see the built-in ones. Each one is a category, and you have even more designs behind that category. So if we clicked this one, we would get a preview if we scroll down, and I know it's very hard to see. It's hard to see. Maybe if I hit OK, you'd be able to, nope.
Let me pick up the camera a little bit. Are you at the top of it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, you may have
You
to.
can get higher on it.
She's going to pick up the camera so that way y'all can see the design a little bit better. So this is how big the design is. You have all of them there. So what we're going to do is we would attach our roll feeder, attach our roll in there, and then we'd hit please select, cut. And then it tells us the time, the pressure it's going to be auto, and the speed that it's going to cut it. We also have some other settings right here. So we could change the speed, half cut. Weeding box is a really cool feature they've added recently. And if you don't have it on your machine, you may need to update it to be able to see this. So what it does is a weeding box will actually take your design and then make an outline box around it. So that way you're not wasting a bunch of HTV or sticker vinyl weeding it. It will be just the outside edges, and you can save the scraps that you don't use. So you have different settings with that. We have these arrows, and it says cut start position adjustment, feed the feed direction button. So we'd be able to feed it inwards. When we have the material in there, it will be able to move it up or down. We have this button down here. So this is trial feed. Maybe if you don't know that you have enough vinyl, so you can see we're kind of at the end of our roll. We got a little bit till it's done. But if you needed to see how long your roll needs to be for you to cut this certain design, you would be able to do this trial feed and see it. And then we have our test cut and our start. Once we load our material in there and have our things adjusted for the roll feeder, then it will actually have this button ungrayed out and it'll be green. Sorry, I keep pressing it. I'm going to hit back real quick. Does anybody have any questions on that? Thank you for coming, Miss Lisa. Okay, I'm going to press OK. All right, so let's hit pattern real quick, and we are just going to find a built-in design. So this is our shapes. These are our, you press it and you have even more categories behind it. We have some scrapbooking tools. We have some cards and tags we could do. We have, just because there is an Eiffel Tower doesn't mean it's just buildings and stuff. You have house items, garden stuff. And see how this is one color, and see how maybe this lamp is 2 different colors. Okay, it's really hard to see on the camera, but I promise this part down here is orange and this part is red. I don't know. I'm going to invest in a better camera for the next couple of lives that we do, so that way y'all can see better. But when you have multiple different colors in your picture, that means it's layered vinyl, or that you need more than one piece of vinyl. You could do this in the same color. It all comes down to personal preference, but that's what the designs that are built in that have, the different shades or the different colors, that's what they mean. So let's go ahead and select a design. There we go. I'm just going to use this lamp. You can kind of tell the difference right now. So with things that are maybe layered or that have two different cuts, whether you're doing the cards and the envelopes or you're doing something that's two different colors, if you're going to size that at all, I really recommend sizing it right here in this setting, because it's going to make those adjustments for both pieces. If you wait to size it in the edit screen, they're going to be unproportioned and they're not going to line up properly. Only reason I tell y'all is because I have trial and error. I have done it before. So we're going to press OK. And then this is where it comes into, the different parts and the different colors of vinyl. And let me see if I adjust this a little bit, if you can see a little bit better. Please tell me if it's on y'all, if on your end it is not that clear. We are having some technical difficulties with our camera, but we are sticking them out. Thank you for coming, Miss Rosie. For everybody who needs to leave, we are going to have a rewatch, so y'all be able to back it up and start it again. And I do plan to do another one of these, maybe going over this and more whenever we have a camera that I can adjust the exposure and stuff like that, so that way y'all don't have a glare on it. I really do apologize for that. But we are working with it and we're just going to continue. So whenever you have designs that have different parts, it'll come up A, B, or however many parts you have. If you had 5 different colors, it would be A through E, or however many it is. You just select the first one, which in this case is A. We could hit OK. I wouldn't adjust the size. Again, we've already done that. And if we do it here, is going to be misproportioned. So I'm going to hit set. And then it's very hard to see, and I apologize. But in this corner, let me see if I can click and drag it to the bottom. I don't even know how to, I love you, make that better. But we can see our shape right here, and that red outline is showing you where it's where the design is. So with these settings, we have add, so we could go back and add that other piece. Let's say we wanted to do it in the same color. You could just add that second piece and then drag it above it. Or we could, let's say we needed to add a name and we were doing the name in the same color as the lamp bottom. We could hit pattern, and then we could go into our text and then type out a text and add it. Hit OK. There's a little preview. Again, I'm sorry, it's hard to see, but we could take that, and now we have, really wish you could see it better. But you can add stuff to it. So we have an edit key right here. I'm going to click the lamp for this edit key. I explain it as this machine has 2 different edit screens, and I do have a printout that I will post in our Ruthies Notions Creations group, or on our Facebook. I'll try to see if I can go on YouTube and on Facebook and just add a link to the comments of where you can find those. And so that way, y'all, I did little pictures and everything of, on this screen, there's these buttons and this is their functions. And on this screen, there's these buttons and these functions. So you have an edit screen, which is this one, and how to get to it is just by pressing edit. And then our second one is the object edit. So we're going to go back to edit so I can go over those buttons. In edit, we have our zoom, which we will be able to see our cut lines. I'm going to scroll down so you can see them. I wish you could see them better. I'm so sorry. But we can see our shape right here. I promise it looks more in depth in person. And we can see exactly where it's going to be cut. If we had, let's say we had a scrap piece of vinyl only this big, we would be able to put that on our mat, scan in a picture of it, and then we would be able to make sure that this design fits inside that scrap piece of vinyl. We have an undo button. We have a select button right here. So let's say you just wanted to select one thing. We could scroll between them. So now Sarah is selected instead of the lamp. Let's say we wanted to select everything. We could hit the 3 boxes. And then we could either click and drag what we want to select, or we can select everything on the artboard. We have object edit, which we're going to go over in a minute. I'm going to delete this Sarah real quick by just pressing the little trash can and OK. And then we have our move keys, which you can move manually, or you can click and drag and move it where you would like. We do have settings on each page, and on each page, the settings are going to be a little bit different. So on this one, we have cut area, and we have our background. I'm going to click Object Edit, and this is our second edit screen. This first button right here is size. We'd be able to size it, but remember, we've already sized it when we had both of those shapes in there. If we size it right here, it's going to be misproportioned. With certain shapes, and I'll have to bring in something that's only one color so I can show you. With certain shapes, when you size it up or down, I'm going to size it, but after we're done, I'm going to hit the back button so that way it's all proportioned. When you size it, one goes up and the other goes up. Right now with this particular design, it won't activate this button, but that's why I'm going to bring something else in. Let's say you had a square and you were trying to make it into a rectangle. It wouldn't let you until you engage this button, the arrows pointing either directions. If you engage that button, then you can size up the width without sizing up the height, or vice versa. You can size down the height and keep the width. So that way you would be able to manipulate that shape or whatever you're working with. If you don't know inches and you know percents, you can change it to percents. And you also have some settings right here: unit, cut area, and background. I'm going to press OK. The second button right here, this is to duplicate. So let's say instead of just one, we wanted a total of 3 on the artboard. We're going to click that second button right here, and you are going to type in or add however many you want on the artboard total. So we want a total of 3. So we're going to press 3 and hit OK. Now it has 1, 2, and 3 for us. So that way we would be able to cut it. So if you're doing something that's repetitive, you could do that option. And so you wouldn't have to, cut one, add a new piece of vinyl, cut one. Is just a way to duplicate it. I'm going to delete the other ones later. We have our rotate key right here. We can rotate it 90, 10, and 1. This is our seam allowance button. And we'll be able to press on. We can change the settings right here for how wide we want our seam allowance. This is our mirror image button. So whenever we're using HTV vinyl, you really want to remember to, I'll go over this real quick. So this is sticker vinyl. This is what I call it. It is the vinyl that there's different types of vinyl for sticker vinyl. There is outdoors, which would be, the waterproof. It's going to stick down and it's not going to come up until you want it to come up. And then there is semi-adhesive sticker vinyl, and that is more of a I don't want to say temporary because I don't mean it as temporary. It's more of not waterproof, something you can't run through the dishwasher or anything like that. It's going to I don't want to say not last as long, but it doesn't have as much of a, if you put outdoor vinyl and indoor vinyl outside. The outdoor vinyl would last way longer than the indoor vinyl would, just because they are made different for different environments and different projects, if that makes more sense. So with the paperback or the sticker vinyl, we if we're using a mat, we lay the paper down on the mat, and so however our picture is on the camera is how it's going to be on this. With HTV, it's a little bit different. This is the front, the sparkly side, and so you, in this case, you would lay the sparkly side down on the mat. And so the reason you mirror image with HTV is because whenever this is how it would be cutting out. If we cut it out how this picture looks, whenever we go to flip it to put it on our shirt, I'm just going to flip it to put it on our shirt. Say we were using a text. That's the best example I can do. We're going to face it down. If we had the text just like this and how it looks on screen, if we went to flip it, it would be backwards. So we need to mirror image it with HTV because whenever you read it and get it out, you're going to be flipping it and then it'll be legible from the front. Does that make more sense? The way I explained it is kind of random and not the best, but hopefully that made a little bit more sense. I'll try to do a chart too. Like if you're using this type of vinyl, don't forget to mirror image. If you're doing this, these are the steps that you would take. I am all about a checklist, and like I personally need notes when I'm learning. So I really like to make notes for y'all so that way y'all can view them later and be like, oh yeah, there's where this button was, or with certain types of vinyl, I need to remember to do this and vice versa. So we are on this button right here. This is where you would add fills. So let's turn our fills on and we could pick a pattern. And it filled in our shape for us. So we could draw those little details in there. It won't let you cut them. You could probably use the foiling or the embossing with the fills, but that's where this button is. To get them off, you just press off. This little triangle right here, this is additional line. So it'll ask you, okay, if you have it on, we want number 2 additional lines so it does an outline around it. So that way you have multiple different lines. Turn that off. This is, what is it called? Offset. So let's say you have a green shirt and you are wanting green vinyl on top, or whatever picture you're doing. Maybe it's the school colors, you're wanting a green vinyl. Whenever you're doing that, you would want to have actually layers to separate the 2 green colors. So we would have the shirt that's green, and we would have a background color that's maybe white to kind of break up those colors, and then we would have our top. If you're wanting to do something like that, this is where offset comes in, because you can actually make it wider. This is what the distance is asking. It's automatically going to add another line, but it's going to give you the option to space it out so you can make that border bigger. It's basically adding a border around your vinyl or whatever you're working with. So we could size it up. I know it's hard to see on screen, but you could size it down. Default is 0.06. If you didn't want it, you could just press X. This is paper piercing or dotted line. If you are wanting, so with some of the built-in, I'll use this example. With some of the built-in card designs, where the fold line should be, it makes little dots, and so it like perforates it so it's easier to fold. You can actually do that on this side too by adding a dotted line if you wanted to. So in this case, it would take that shape and do little dots. But you could do that with different things. There's a really cool project that I don't know if they do it in school anymore. We did this where we cut out little snowflakes. Well, you could do it with the dotted line with certain shapes, and then you hold it over a window and you can see the little dots through it, or you hold it over and you have like a little paper and you can see the shadow of it. So there's different ways that you can use that. Just be creative, and whether you're making a card or you're just doing a little project to show kids. These 3 buttons are not activated yet because we need to select more than one thing. This is our group button. This is our weld button, and this is our alignment button. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything on the artboard. Hold on just a second. I'm going to delete one of these so that way we only have 2. So now we have one right here and one right here. I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. We could hit Object Edit, and then we could either group them together. Let's say, so I'm going to go over weld real quick. Let's say we have 2 shapes that are crossing over each other. If we were, I can't zoom in on this, but it is right here. Maybe you can see when we have 2 shapes that are joining into each other. If I were to cut it just like this, it would cut every single one of those lines, and where it's crossing over or overlapping right here, it would actually be able to come out, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything on the artboard, or those 2 shapes if we had more stuff, Object Edit, and hit Weld. It's going to take that shape and just do an outline of both shapes and make them one instead of having all those individual lines inside of it. Try to get the camera back. Sorry. Thank y'all for being so patient. I don't know if that's worse or better. I wish it tilted a little bit more. Let me see if I can find something to like put underneath the scan and cut to get it to tilt. Let me try my notebook. Is that better? It's still hard to see, and y'all, I'm so sorry. But maybe it makes it just a little bit better than what it was before. Hold on just a second. Okay, so that is weld. I'm going to press cancel. Okay, so maybe y'all can see a little bit better. And then let's do the alignment tool right here. And then, so if you're doing something like stickers, or you're doing something, cutting out a bunch of the same shape, maybe you want them aligned in the mat so that way you can cut as many as you can. And that's what these buttons come into play for. You would just select both of them, and then depending on how you want them lined up is how you would position them. Hold on. Let me go back. I'm going to select one and move it out of the way so that way it doesn't weld them together. And then let me select both. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then edit, Object Edit, alignment. And let's say we want them both aligned here, or I did not make the best example out of that. Let me move it. I'm going to grab this and just move it up. So I'm going to go to edit, select everything, hit Object Edit, and then alignment. And then it would align them both in the same line or same path. Then we have settings right here. We have cut area and we have background again. So do y'all have any questions so far? While I wait for y'all to, type up any questions, we have our scanning button right here. So that basically just scan in the background or whatever you have down on your mat. So that way you can see what it looks like. You have another alignment. So this is what you can do. So let's say these are both facing up like this. Let's say we wanted to rotate it where one's upside down so that way we can move it closer. This is how you would do that. So those are both the same way, but we could do it like this. And it just different ways to change it to get the max amount of cut files in there. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Scale said, I love the paid subscription. She's talking about Artspira. It is amazing. The paid subscription, you get even more cut files to send over, even more embroidery designs. If you have an embroidery machine you can use with it, even more fonts that you can use. And I like how you also have, where you can draw and then send it over and cut it out. So I forgot to go over these buttons. Those are important. This is your home button. You can go back to the home screen. This is your home screen. This is your load map button. This is your pause button and your resume button if you are in the middle of a project. So now that we went over buttons, I'm going to go over mats. I'm going to kind of give y'all the option. I know I'm going to go over the mats and some other different points, but kind of just to get a feel for everybody, I am going to order a new camera today so that way I can zoom in, zoom out, and it won't be blurry whenever we are working with stuff. Whenever I go to cut stuff, I'm going to have to move the camera, and then we're going to have to adjust it back to make it to where we can see good. I'm going to give y'all the option for either rescheduling it. I can't do it next week, but I could definitely schedule it for the week of, I'm sorry, I don't have a calendar up. Not next week, but the next, let me see. The 23rd, 25th, somewhere in there. I could definitely schedule something for that week. If y'all would like me, I'll take this live and then we'll go even more in depth in that live, cover more projects, and you'll be able to see the screen a lot better. So I'll give you all that choice. I do not mind going over it today, but I know it's very, very hard to see. So I'm going to give y'all that option. You can just comment which one y'all want, and it'll kind of be up to y'all. So while I wait for those comments, I'm going to go over the different mats that you can purchase with the machine. So let me switch these around. So I'm going to use this camera. So this is one of the mats that come with the machine. It's the 12 by 12. And I'm going to show y'all how to clean your mats. This is the 12 by 12 low tack mat. We know it's low tack because it says it right here. And also because this is blue. One way to tell the difference, I know some people have the CW series or past models that don't include the Scan and Cut DX. One of the ways to tell the difference between the mats, because they do look very similar, is to look at this product code right here and see how it says CADX mat low 12. If it was a mat that's used for like the 680W series or something like that, then it would just say CAD mat low or something like that. What is the name of the design company again? Are you talking about Artspira? So that is a free app. I'm going to pull it up right now so I can show y'all. Okay. So it is a free app, and it has embroidery designs, cut designs, print designs. You have a bunch of different designs. The ones with the crown are the paid subscription. So we could hit, sorry. I should probably do it on the other camera. Let's see if this is any better. There we go. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. So we have our cut designs. We have free cutting designs. So we could say see all. And let's say we like this little flower. We could hit the flower. And we can favorite it up top. Or we can come to the bottom and hit create. Let me scoot this back a little bit. Well, now it's hard to see that. Okay, there we go. So we could hit create. And then once we have them linked up to our scan and cut, it shows us like a little preview of what's going to be cut. And we could select what cutting machine we're going to bring it to. And then press it or select it and hit transfer. And then it says it's transferred. Let's see if they're connected. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to double check. Let's go to retrieve data. It is, I forgot y'all can't see, I'm sorry. It is not going to transfer over since I don't have it connected to, remember when I deleted it from the educator's profile, I would have to register it with mine and my computer to make it go over. But it's really cool because then you can just transfer your designs over, and you can even hit new at the bottom. And we have up at the top, sorry, I'm having to hold the camera and my phone. We have embroidery, cutting, and printing. If we hit cutting, and we can line art trace, or we can design edit. We're going to hit design editor. We select our mat that we're using. Let me see if I can just lean it back. And then I know it's hard to see, I'm sorry. But we would be able to hit the add button down here. And then we could add shapes, or we could add a text. We can make this bigger if we select it, and we could drag up, make it bigger. We have tons of different options down here, so we could change our font with one click. We can change the size. We would be able to bring in, let's say we wanted a bird. We could bring in a chicken for a cut file. You have a lot of different ways that you can just edit on Artspira, and it's really cool because you have free designs, and they also have scoot that back a little bit. You also have they come out with weekly magazines, which is basically just a magazine that has different projects that you can create or that you can do, and it gives you the cut files, it gives you the instructions, and it actually gives you a video on how to do those. So they're really cool. Artspira is a really great tool for, like I said, the embroidery machines, if you have a Brother wireless machine, or the new sublimation printer, or the new fabric printer. So it really is an amazing tool. I highly suggest the paid subscription if you can do it. It's $12.99 a month, I know, but it gives you a bunch of different add-ons, including the ones you can preview the little add-ons. And like I mentioned, the little crown is the paid subscription. So let's move on to the other mat. The other mat is your standard mat, or the purple one, and it says standard right here. So the difference between the two mats, the standard mat is very sticky. it is stickier compared to the low tack mat. So I use this one with HTV. If your mat is brand new or freshly clean, I would say I would not use this sticker vinyl, because when you put the paper down, it's going to stick to the sticky, and whenever you go to peel it up, sometimes based on previous projects, the paper will stick down and your vinyl will come up. So this is the not high tack, standard tack mat. I use mostly for, HTV vinyl, the glitter vinyl, and stuff like that. The low tack mat, which is the blue one, this is what it looks like. This one I like to use for the sticker vinyl, or I can use for paper, or let's say I'm wanting to use fabric and I have hot fix adhesive on the back. If I have hot fix adhesive on the back of my fabric, I will use my low tack mat or my standard mat, because I have a great example right here. I've done it before, and I could have cleaned this, but I kept this on here so that way y'all could see. I do have the clear sheet on it, but whenever you use that hot fix with these fabric mats, they are so sticky. You can actually kind of see the paper that is left behind, and I really need to clean this mat. But in certain areas, like right here, so I use the low tack or the standard tack mat when I'm doing fabric that has hot fix adhesive on the back. So the fabric mat that you can purchase extra, the 225 or the 230 DX, I believe, came with the fabric mat. Do not quote me on that. But this fabric mat that's gold and it says fabric mat, I like to use when I starch it with probably starch my fabric with either Terreal Magic, or if I'm just doing the fabric by itself. I will be honest with you, I've been playing with the fabric and different stuff and what I feel like works best. You will find stuff that works better for you that maybe don't work for me, and vice versa. But personally, I find that if I'm using the fabric mat, you really need to prep your fabric beforehand by using a starch or using Terreal Magic, because if I just personally stick down my fabric without doing that prep work, whenever it gets done cutting and I'm going to peel it off, they are so sticky. One of the little fibers or threads will stick down to that mat, and then it'll start fraying the ends. Now, that hasn't happened on every single fabric that I've done, like cotton batik and stuff like that. It's happened on certain ones, but I will say, in my experience, prepping your fabric and taking that extra minute just to starch it, or whatever that prep looks like for you, ironing it, starching it, it really does affect how it plays out whenever it gets done. So does anybody have any questions on the fabric mat or any of the mats and what you use them for, and vice versa? How much starch? I like using Terreal Magic, and let me see if I can pull up a picture of that. But with the Terreal Magic, the instructions, I don't think you starch it a whole lot. You just kind of spray it, and then it will stiffen up. And then whenever you get done, I'm pretty sure you can wash it, and the stiffness will wash away. There are other on the market of starches. Terreal. Does Terreal Magic dry fast? I found that it does dry fast. So this is what it looks like. So this is what I personally use. There are other starches on the market. I know this one works great for what I do, and I know several other customers who use it. But it does dry fast. You are spraying it wet, so it does take a minute to dry, but it's not something that is going to take an hour to dry. And you can also, I believe you can take an iron to it. Don't quote me on that. I haven't read the directions in a little bit. But normally what I'll do is I'll spray it before I ever get started, and then I'll set that aside, let it dry, prep my mats, get them cleaned if they need clean, bring up my design, and do all that work. And then by the time I get done, it's normally dry and ready to go. Can it be used with non-cottons? The Terrio Magic. The Terrio Magic can be used with cotton, batik, probably polyester too. I'd imagine it could go on any of the ones. And the fabric mat, it can be used with all different types of fabric. Also, I want to mention there is some projects out there. So your machine can only cut, I think it's 3 millimeters at one time, or I believe it's 3 millimeters. We have actually etched on balsa wood. So if you don't know what balsa wood is, it's like a really, really thin piece of wood that you can use for different projects. We've actually engraved into it using the Scan and Cut DX, and it's just amazing what all you can do with these machines. Like we did have to use, in that case, since the fabric mat is so tacky, honestly, you could probably use the balsa wood and stick it down to the fabric mat, but you can use it with the standard mat and stuff like that. It's just amazing what all you can cut with these. Foam, fabric, you can engrave in balsa wood. We've had some customers and they've sent me pictures of etching on glass and using the Scan and Cut to cut out stencils and stuff like that. Miss Gail said, I use the Terrio Magic for cutting out quilt pieces, and when I sewed the quilt pieces together, I used my steam iron and the Terrio Magic came right out. So that's a great way to use it too. Instead of having to wash it out, then you can just use a steam iron and it loosens up. How often do you change the needles? So on this machine, you have blades, and it really depends on what kind of materials you're cutting. So let's say you're just using fabric, and you don't really switch between. I mean, you do have different blades, and I'm going to go over those too. But let's say you're just using fabric on your blades, it's not going to dull down as much as if you were cutting paper every single time. So I don't have like a set number. Hey, you can do this many projects, and then you might need to change your blade. What I can say is you can see it in the cutout, and whenever it's cutting out, you can kind of tell a difference between, hey, it's slicing like butter, and hey, it's struggling a little bit trying to cut this, or maybe it didn't cut all the way. You have two different blades that come with this machine, and I'm going to show y'all kind of how to check to make sure that it's not dull, or how to check, to change out the blades. So this is our first, just bear with me. I'm going to lean this back real quick. So this is our auto blade. It is the black top. I don't know why it's not focusing the best, but it has a black top. And if you push down, we're not going to press the center, but we're just going to push down. You can actually, it's hard to see, but you can see the blade tip. So let's say it's in the middle of cutting and maybe it's not doing the best. What I would do is kind of push this up. Sometimes it's randomly, and it may not even happen to you. You can push this up and there might be like a little piece of tape on it or a little piece of vinyl to where it just peeled up with the blade. Very rarely, like I said, does that happen, but this is just one of the things you can kind of push up and kind of tell. Be careful where you're holding your finger and pushing up just so it doesn't engage on your finger. Another way you can do it is by screwing this off. And then we have our little blade right here. So whenever you're changing them out with the auto blade, this is all you will receive is this little blade. And you can tell whether it's dull by kind of looking at that tip, or, if it's dull, you'll be able to see the difference. Are the blades expensive and are they hard to change? The blades are not. They range depending on where you are. I believe the auto blade replacements, these are $16.99. And the rotary blade replacements, which I'll go over the rotary blade, believe they are $30. Don't quote me on that. That's just off the top of my head. I may be completely wrong. I do know that the auto blade replacements are about $16.99. So it's always good to have extras on hand. And if you have ordered any replacements, those are finally in. Our stuff is trickling in, but we have auto blades and we do have the rotary blades in now for the replacements. So if you're replacing it, you just take that out, put the new one in, or if you're just checking it, you just check it. And then we're just going to take this, slide it on, and screw it back on. So they're really not hard to change. And then we have this one. So this is your rotary blade. If you have a blade that looks like this, but it's gold on the top, that is a fabric blade. You can use it on this machine. I highly recommend getting the rotary blade if you haven't, or if it didn't come with your machine, because these are shaped round like a rotary blade, meant to cut fabric. And so your machine knows when you have this in. There's a little reader on the back that tells the machine, hey, you need to slow down, because it isn't just a point, it's round. It can, but in like this blade, it has to, if it's doing a square, it can just do a square real quick. This rotary blade, if it's doing a square, it's got to go in one direction, then it's got to move, and then it's got to go in this direction, move again in this. So it takes a little bit longer, but your machine will automatically know to slow it down for this blade. The rotary blade is amazing. You can cut so many different things with it, and I love how it just cuts the fabric like butter. To change it out, again, you just untwist this, and there are caps that come with these blades that if you're not using them, you can store them with the cap on. So to change it out, you just pull this piece off, and then it comes out just like that. So the replacements look like this. And to replace it, you just drop it in. There is a magnetic thing in the bottom, so if you just drop it in, it will snap where it needs to go. And then when you get done, you just put this piece back on and you screw. So to attach the blades, I'm just going to do this and hold it, so please bear with me. So if we're attaching the blades, let's say we're attaching this auto blade right here, what we would do is we would just have the brother logo facing you, and then I grab the top like this. I am setting it in, and as I'm pushing down, you don't have to push down hard, I am locking that lever into place. So if we were using the rotary blade, set that aside, we grab it like this, and you can just drop it in and then drop it down. So they're not hard to change out. Like I said before, your machine knows when you're using this one compared to, this one, and it will make the adjustments for that. Let me try to prop this up again. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, we are going to cut something out. Y'all will have to bear with me because we're going to start with everything on screen first. And so that way when I move it, we don't have to worry about keeping adjusting it and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and pick our design. We're actually going to do a 2-color design. So we're going to go to pattern, and then we could just go to shapes. And we have all these different categories we can choose from. Let's look in the animals. Let's do this little fish right here. So I'm just going to keep it this size. It's about a 4 by 3.5. I'm going to press OK. So this is a two-part design, and you can tell by the different colors right here. We're going to select the first part. And then we're going to hit set. And then our design is here. It's really hard to see. It's right there in the corner. Again, I'm sorry we can't see it. So Miss Sissy, thank you, Miss Penny. She said your teaching pace is wonderful. Miss Sissy Hawkins said, when cutting fabric with HFA on it, do you cut fabric face up? Hot fix adhesive. Sorry, it took me a minute. When cutting fabric with hot fix adhesive on it, do you cut fabric face up? Yes. I do not have a piece of fabric right here, but let's say that this was our hot fix adhesive. We would lay that down on our mat so that way our fabric would be facing us. Hopefully that helps. So we have our design right here. We don't need to size it. We don't need to rotate it because we don't need to size it because we already, if we wanted to size it, we could size it in that previous screen. We shouldn't need to rotate it. But what I'm going to show y'all is I'm going to use this roll, but I'm going to cut out like a scrap piece. So that way y'all can see me scan it and see like how to make sure that it's going to fit. So let me cut that real quick. So with this, I call it paper vinyl or sticker vinyl. It does have specific names depending on what company you go with. I know Oracle, they have a ton and variety of different vinyls out there. They call it like 651. They call it numbers, and they have like outdoor vinyl or semi-permanent vinyl to where it is not as sticky, or there's just some different vinyls out there, and most of the time it will say it on the back. This is Brother Vinyl. They have tons of it out on the market, and you can buy rolls like this, the 12-inch rolls across, or you can buy them in 12 by 12 sheets, which look like this. So there's a variety of different options out there, and Oracle is just one of the many, many vinyl places out there. There's Caesar, tons of different ones. So, sorry, I'm bumping the camera. With this, I'm going to use my, I'm going to check my standard mat real quick. So the only reason I'm using my standard mat is because I can press it, and I personally feel like this paper is not going to stick to it because it is not as tacky as the first day I got it. It really needs to be cleaned, and I'm going to go over cleaning tips later with y'all, how to clean it and what to use. But that is the reason I'm using the standard tack instead of something like the low tack mat. If my Scan & Cut's brand new, I've never cut anything on the mats before, stuck anything down, and I've kept the little clear sheet on there, I would use the low tack mat. Especially when you first get the low tack mat, is super sticky. It's not going to come up, but it's not going to rip that paper away. So let me make some adjustments. Scoot this back. So I have my purple mat here. I might buy 2 cameras so I can just switch between them instead of doing this. So I have my mat right here, and whenever you are placing your vinyl, you really don't want to place it to where these readers are covered. Reason being is it's not going to want to cut it out, and it can't recognize the mat when we cover up these black squares and circles. So what I'm going to do, please just bear with me because I'm holding the camera with one hand and trying to place the vinyl. But what we're going to do is we're going to line our vinyl up in this corner right here. And then we're just going to tack it down. And I recommend using 2 hands. See how this is covering this corner? it's not going to be able to read it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it down. Sorry, if y'all could see how I'm holding this, y'all would laugh on camera. Okay. So I'm just going to stick it in the middle. It'll make, for what I'm showing y'all, even better. So after I get that rubbed down, I only had one hand to do it. So if I had a brayer, which is kind of like the roller, or I had a squeegee, this is when I would go in and squeegee it down. When I set the camera up to be like on the screen to show y'all, I'm going to squeegee it out. When you tilted the camera, I could see the fish. Maybe you can see a little bit better. You can kind of see the fish right there. There we go. If only there was a way that I could hold the camera at this specific position to make y'all be able to see everything. But yeah, that's the little fish we're doing. It's 2 parts. So it'll have the fins and the different color that we do in a second. So I'm just going to prop this up just like this. And we're going to lose sight of the screen, but I will zoom in a second so that way y'all can see that. So I'm just going to kind of off camera, but on the side, rub it down. My brayer is over here somewhere. But we just want to make sure that it's stuck down, that there's no bubbles. Like we can see a bubble right there. Let's try to get that out. And then there we go. So to insert our mat, we're going to insert it in between these little ridges on either side. One right here, one right here. And we really are making sure that our mat is being caught by these black rollers. So once I have it lined up in that position and my mat underneath these rollers, I'm going to engage this load mat button, which is the second button underneath the home button. Check the feed roller position before cutting, then press OK. I just pressed OK. So on our screen, I'm just going to come in, try getting it. I don't think it's your camera. I'll try a different tripod also. I just need a whole new setup. So on our screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this scan button and make sure you have enough room on the back side when it comes out, just so it doesn't hit anything. I'm just going to press start. Then we can kind of see, feeds it out and brings it back. I'm going to zoom in actually. Sorry if I'm making y'all sick moving back and forth. So maybe when we go up, you can see it a little bit better. So it's hard to see. Hopefully y'all can see on your end. But we can move our fish inside this cut area so we can make sure that we have enough room on either side. So if we needed to, we could zoom in by pressing edit, little zoom, and then we could scroll down and see that our fish is going to be inside that cut line. I don't know what's up with the different colors right there. It's all the same color on the vinyl. But we just want to make sure our fish is inside that scrap piece. Once it is, we could press OK. If we needed to move it, we could move it while it's in the zoom also. We don't need to size it, rotate it, or do anything in this. Because we are using sticker vinyl, we don't need to mirror image. So we're pretty much good with all these settings. We're going to press OK and press OK again. And I'm going to hit OK. Please select. Once you get in this please select screen, it's not going to let you out until you select something. So let's say even if you needed to get into the previous screen and size it, or you forgot to rotate it, just press something, and then we have our back button up here, so we could go back. For right now, we're cutting, so I'm going to press cut. And then we have some different settings, so we can see our fish on the artboard. We have our settings on here, which is cut speed, cut pressure. We do need to make sure half cut is on. And I'm going to do a weeding box just so y'all can see what that would look like. So I'm going to press that on. Again, if you're just joining us, the weeding box is something that is kind of new. If you don't see it, you need to update your machine. So it added a box around our fish, so that way we're not wasting a bunch of vinyl. We could hit test, and if we hit test, right now our little circle's right here. We just want to drag that into our vinyl piece. But I know it's hard to see on screen, but we want to make sure that it's not going to be in the place of our fish. So we could change the shape if we needed to move it. If we didn't scan our background in, we could scan it in. So I'm going to hit start. Hold on, I forgot to attach the blade when I took it out. So we're going to make sure that our blade is in. So I'm just going to drop it in there. I'm using the black auto blade. And I'm going to press OK. And then I'm going to hit start again. Let's try this for the second time. I do need a better tripod. So when it does the test I'm sorry, I'm so used to embroidery too. When it does the test cut, we can see this is where the test cut was. It's kind of hard to see with the camera. I did not bring that tool over here. So I don't have my little weeding tool over here. I do have tweezers around me. I'm holding the camera, so I can't really jump and go get it. Why did you drag the circle over? I could have done it. I'm going to try to go up here. So I did the circle somewhat over here. I could have done it inside this weeding box, so I'm not wasting a bunch of vinyl. You just want to make sure that it's not inside the shape of our fish, because then it would be taking parts of that vinyl out that we need for later. But you can pretty much drag it wherever. It doesn't have to be, on the outside of that weeding box. You could put it on the inside of the weeding box, but to where it's not hitting the fish or anything. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to pick this off. I really highly recommend getting a weeding tool if you don't have one. Just makes life a lot easier. So this came up with ease. We didn't have any problems, and it didn't. It cut a perfect circle. If it can cut a circle, it's going to cut any shape. So once we see that our test cut is good, we are going to... What's the purpose of the circle? So the purpose of the circle, this is just a test cut. They have many different shapes you could do. You can do, I'm going to hit test again just so y'all can see. So this is just testing to make sure that our blade is good, and our machine is going to read the correct depths. And if we're switching between mediums, like let's say we're cutting a bunch of paper and then we're switching over to vinyl, or whether that be adhesive vinyl or sticker vinyl, then you would be able to see, okay, is my blade good? Does it need to be replaced? Is it too dull? If the circle didn't come out in a perfect circle and maybe it was little rough lines, or maybe it is, maybe it cut 3/4 of the circle, but it didn't cut the other, then that's when I would replace my blade or something like that. It's just kind of a test cut before you cut your actual project, so that way you don't have to cut your project twice in a sense. But there's different shapes that you can use. You can do square, triangle, circle. You could do just a line if you wanted to. Figured it out after you cut it. That's okay. I'm sure you are not the first person to ask that. I didn't know what it was. So to anybody on here or anybody watching, no question is a dumb question. It really isn't. We are all starting somewhere, and I promise I've asked those questions and the more question that, it's something that you should be like, I should have known that. Like when you figure it out, I do that all the time. So no question is a dumb question. We are all learning, and we all learn from each other, and that's what I love about these classes, and just being together and getting to teach and learn more. So that's what the test cut is for. And so once we see that it's done good, whenever we're done, it said test again or it said start. If it did good after that test cut, we would just hit start right then. Since we've already done our test cut, I'm going to go back and then hit start from here. And now it's going to start cutting my fish and cutting that box around it. So that's the weeding box. And then it is done. So whenever we have a multi-part design, can y'all see that? Hopefully it focuses. There we go. So whenever you have a multi-part design, whenever it finishes cutting the first one, it will say select next part or finish. We need to select the next part because we need to do the other part of the fish. So I'm going to hit part B and hit OK, and then hit set. And then now we have that part B in there. So I'm just going to rip up this one, and then I'm going to weed that while we prep the other color. So the other color we're using is this gray. Scraper tool looks like a fish. So what I'm going to do, repeat the same steps. I'm going to do this right here. Normally I lay it on a flat surface. I'm going to peel this off real quick. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I'm just trying to peel off these previous pieces. So again, this is sticker vinyl. I'm just going to put the paper side down. Sorry, I'm literally propping it up against my body. And then I'm going to lay it down. I'm actually going to set the camera down, unload the mat, take it over here on a flat surface, and then squeegee it down. Okay, so once we have that down on our mat, what we're going to do is we're going to load it. So we put it in between these two, I don't know what to call them. I call them ridges. It's kind of like guides right here on either side. And then we're going to press our load mat button, which is up here. It's going to load our mat. And I scan my images in a lot. Now, let me get it closer so that way you can see. There's still a glare on it. There we go, a little bit better. So I like scanning in my vinyl in just so I'm not wasting a bunch. I could put this fish in the middle of my artboard and know that I have plenty around it. But personally, I like to try to save as much as I can. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit this scan button and then hit start. And it's basically going to take a picture of whatever we have on our mat and then put a picture up on the screen for us. So there's our little fish. So I'm going to hit edit and zoom in just so y'all can see this. So see how that cut line is barely out of the vinyl, but it's enough to where it would cut off our design. We're going to move our design to be more inside the vinyl. And then we're going to press OK. And then that's a good example of, just testing your area, making sure that it's going to be inside of it. And so now let's say we couldn't see, let me hit settings real quick. So I'm going to turn the background all the way up just so you can see. So when we have our background all the way up, sometimes it's hard to see our cut lines to make sure they're in there. So that's why we would change the background. So we would be able to see exactly where that cut line is going to go. Again, we don't need to size, rotate, mirror image, or anything like that. We're going to press OK. OK again. Please select, cut. And then since it did good on the other one, I'm just going to go ahead and press start. Remember, we have half cut on already. And once you turn half cut on one time, it's automatically going to be on there again, even if you turn off your machine. So while that's cutting, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and weed this really quick. There's my little tweezers. So I'm just going to unload my mat. And then let me scoot this back a little bit. That way y'all can see what I'm working with. Bear with me for just a second. Okay, so all I'm doing this off. Again, you could tell my standard mat was not that sticky by the way I could just peel that off. It should not be like that. It definitely needs cleaned, which we're going to go over. So I forgot to add a weeding box around this, but sometimes you can like hold it up and then kind of see the cut lines. What I'm going to do is just cut a shape around this fish. Make sure that I'm not cutting my actual fish. So this is what the weeding box does, is it adds a box around your design, and so you can just peel up and you don't have to worry about wasting the rest or stuff like that. So I'm going to weed this one first. I'm just taking away all that background. I do not need, yes, I could have cut that up and used it for a font. I peeled it up before I even thought about that. And sometimes, especially when you're using black vinyl, it can be hard to see where those cut lines are. A little trick you can use is baby powder. If you just put a little bit on there, you can really see where those cut lines are, so you can see what you need to pull out versus what needs to stay. A rule of thumb that I use, there are different designs that you can do, whether you're doing a stencil or in this case, we're just making like a vinyl something. We're not using this to etch something. If we were etching, we would take away the inside and leave, the outside border. So that way we'd have our shape and have the design. In this case, we need the inside. We don't need the outside. So this is our outline of our fish. I know I don't need this little eye because the other color is going to have that piece in it. So we just pick that out. It'll be easier to see on this next one. So for this, what I like to do, if you have a test stitch, you can just kind of peel that up. Or you can, what I do is I get close. How long have you been using the Scan and Cut? I have been using the Scan and Cut. That's a good question. Probably, I had the Scan and Cut before the 330 model. I had the 225. I did not use the CW series. So as long as they've had the DXs out, I think like 5-6 years, I've been using the Scan and Cut. So a little bit, I definitely prefer this over the other ones on the market. If I'm being honest, I have all of them, and my Scan and Cut is my go-to one. So I've been using it for a while. There's still stuff I need to learn. That's the cool thing about just embroidery and crafting in general. There's always new things to learn and different tips and techniques that people come out with or people learn and share. So I've been using a while, but there is more stuff to always be learned. But with this one, I am just going to, it's hard to see on camera, but I'm taking this line. I know I need this inside part. So I could either start in the corner and kind of like peel it away like this. Or if I had a test stitch, I would take that little circle and then peel it up. Just makes it a little bit easier. So when you're peeling it away, just be easy. I will be honest with you, certain vinyls cut different than other vinyls. So be careful when you're peeling it up, just so you know what you're peeling away isn't sticking to what needs to stay there, and vice versa. So we got the outside part taken away. So now we're going to work on the inside pieces, just so y'all can see a little bit better. So we're going to be taking out all these little swirly lines. So I start at the outside. I need to keep this portion. So the next line I need to take out is this one. Again, a hook tool works even better than tweezers, but if you're in a pinch like me, tweezers work fantastic. Let me try from the other side. And then we have this. So whenever we get done our fish, this orange part is going to be underneath this gray part. So now we have something. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bump the camera. There is, let me try this one real quick. Okay, there are different transfer sheets out on the market. This is the one I'm using for today. I do have several different brands I use on occasion. It really just depends. So what I'm going to do, there are many different ways to layer your vinyl. You can start with one piece, tack it down, and then leave it there, grab another piece and put it on top of that. You can transfer this on, or this one's our first one. So we could transfer this first, add that to, let's say a cup. We could add that to the cup, stick it down, and then we could peel this one up and then layer it above it. There are many different ways that you can do this, and you will find ways that work for you better, that maybe you prefer better. So we are going to be doing it on this cup. It's just a round tumbler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one piece at a time so I can show y'all. So I'm just going to take my transfer sheet and I lay it down. And hold on just a second. I'm going to go grab my brayer or my roller. So this is the Brother brayer that they came out with. You can buy a squeegee. If you're using the brayer, you just have to put a little bit more pressure than if you had a squeegee. If you have a squeegee, which is just kind of like a flat piece, it's it's easier to show you than it is to explain it. Kind of looks like the end of this, but it is like rectangle. You could use something like this. If you are using a credit card, if that's what you have, or if you're using, a squeegee, just be careful and don't put a ton of pressure when you're coming in from these sides, because sometimes it will rip through the transfer paper, the clear, and it will peel up your design. So be careful just to do like an even amount of pressure. All we're doing is making sure that it is stuck to this transfer sheet. So when we go to peel it up, we want to make sure that it is sticking to this sheet and not this one down here. So we peel that up. And sometimes you can mark your center. It makes life a lot easier. Accidentally stuck it down. So having something to hold these makes life a lot easier, whether that is a, what is it called? There's tumbler holders, or if you just take a little trick, if you don't have stuff on hand, to take a towel and like just make kind of like a little cubby where it can't shift around and roll, or you can do 2 rolls of stabilizer on each side, so that way it's not moving around like it is with me right now. So we're just going to, I like to lay down, especially when I'm using rounded tumblers, I like to lay down the middle first, and then I like to roll and press down the outside edges, because if you try to lay it down all at once, sometimes what happens is it wants to like bubble up or something. So we do have bubbles right here, but I can tell that those are from the top portion, so in between the vinyl and this transfer sheet, and not underneath the vinyl, just because of the way the holes are. Again, these are easiest with a squeegee, if I'm being honest with you. A brayer works well too, but sometimes the brayer can't put the amount of pressure that it needs. So if we had a brayer, and then one of the easiest ways to peel this away from itself is to peel it back on itself. And that kind of sounds weird. But what we're going to do is, instead of peeling up like I am now, we're going to lay it flat and then roll it away. See how it's sticking down? So this is what they mean when they say rolling it back on itself or peeling it back on itself. And those little bubbles right there, I'm going to show y'all how to get those out. So we have that there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my second piece, and we can reuse this transfer sheet or tape as long as it's long enough and still sticky, which this one is. Again, I lay one side. This makes life a little bit easier. And then I go down with the other. I didn't realize y'all couldn't see. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so I just wanted to get that stuck so I didn't have to hold it somewhere. So we can either push these bubbles out very gently. Let me see. There we go. We can either push them out very gently. If you have something that's going to be in the sun, most of the time the sun will take care of these little bubbles. Miss Penny said you need to start doing 3-minute how-tos. You got a ton of knowledge to share with us. That would be a great idea. Sometimes it's hard. Like, I want to do these live classes, but sometimes it's hard to get all the information I want to share with y'all in like 2-3 hours. So that is actually a genius idea. I will have to start doing that, even if it's just something random. But you can, the sun will either take care of these little bubbles, or you can try to push them out. Sometimes if you use a squeegee, again, be careful, because if you put too much pressure, it will, try to rip some of that up. Just ignore my concentration face. You can also take like a pin and poke it and then press it out. She said, do it. I'm definitely going to write down that, and then come up with some ideas of like what I can do. Would y'all rather see like a pre-done video or like a 3-minute live how-to? Okay, so I didn't get all of them out. I'm still working on it. Like I said, you can take a pin and poke these. These are so close to the edge, though. I know I can push them out. It's just going to take a little bit of, maybe if I flip this, time. Okay. We are going to go with that. So our next piece, what we're going to do is we're just going to peel this up. See how it did not peel up to my transfer sheet? So what I'm going to do is just lay it back down. And then I'm going to squeegee it again just to make sure everything's sticking down. It's all going to come up. I prefer live how-tos. It gives a truer idea of time it takes. Yes, I agree with that. Because sometimes when videos are just put together, it's hard to tell. It looks like it only took 2 seconds, but in reality, it may have took like 2 minutes or something, vice versa. I just need to focus on these fins right here because they're not want to peel up. Let's try to peel up from a different angle. Let's try to peel up from the front of the fish. Okay. That's what's happening. So you remember how I said different vinyls cut differently? I'm not hating on this brand. Sometimes it just happens. So what's happening is the reason it doesn't want to peel up is this is sticking down to our this piece of paper. And when I go to peel it up manually, it's very hard to see on camera. See how instead of that being gray, it's white? It's peeling up part of the paper. So the paper is actually splitting in half. This can be sort of a headache. Sometimes it is just, that roll of vinyl. And I have tried several different brands out on the market, and I'm not hating on any one in particular because I've had it done with several different ones. But sometimes they do this and it makes life a little bit more harder. So I'm going to show y'all how to problem solve if you're ever in this pickle. So what I do is I am peeling it and separating it. And see when I peel it up, how it's white that is actually the paper. You can see it ripped up. So sometimes at certain parts of the vinyl, it's not doing that. So you can try to peel that away. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel it away from it. I just ripped that fish. Okay. So sometimes if it rips, in this case, since it's given me so many problems, I probably would pick a different color and just do another layer. But if you're needing to save it, let's say like this is the colors they need and it's just, this is your last piece or something, you can always make it work. Let's see. Again, this is not the best example, and personally, I probably would have just cut out a different vinyl color, but I'm wanting to show y'all how to make it work. So I have this down here. Let me see if I can bend this more. You see how on this fin it has gray and it doesn't have paper. If you heat it with your hands, will it loosen the glue? I didn't think about that. I should have tried that. I don't know if it would be able to work now since the sticky's there. But Miss Beverly said if you heated it with your hands, will it loosen the glue? Meaning away from, the paper. And I would think that it would. So in this case, we just peel that paper away. I wouldn't worry about this part because it's definitely not going to stick to our cup. But we need the vinyl portions. So try not to rip a hole in it. Sometimes once you get one part started, you can kind of peel it up in one motion. Again, y'all are learning how to problem solve with this one, or a blow dryer. That would probably work really good. Miss Penny said everything. Sorry, I missed this comment. So much to learn. So many hacks. Plus, it's always good to be able to find a video on changing the blades or whatever. Yes, I fully agree. Especially when I'm in a pickle, I'm always trying to find like a 3-minute or like a 2-minute video of how to just solve that problem. So that's really a good idea. I honestly wonder if you could take another piece of transfer tape and put it on this side and then peel it away and peel the paper. I'll have to try that when we're not on live. And so that way I can have another hack for y'all if it does work. But if y'all aren't in our Facebook group, Ruthies Notions Creations, I will try to do, I do pop-up videos in there, and I try to, if there's any updates available for the machines, I try to post it in there. So if you're not in that group, I highly recommend it. I will start doing pop-ups in there, pop-ups in YouTube, and just live videos everywhere. That way y'all just get information overload. Again, I'm trying to find a piece that I can just peel up in one go. So if you don't have anything started, you can kind of just pick at it. Be sure not to rip the actual vinyl. It's so satisfying when it peels up all in one piece. Then when it rips, it's like, ah. Okay. Yeah, all kinds of vinyl stuck to me right now. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? If I started the 3-minute video, does anybody have any ideas of like maybe what they would want to see first? Maybe we could have it on a set day and randomly. So that way y'all can expect, hey, I'm just giving a random day, like every Tuesday, we do a pop-up live tip or something like that. Okay, we are almost there, guys. Getting closer and closer. Thanks for bearing with me throughout this. But I'm sure there's some people out there who like to try to save as much vinyl as they can and not, give up on it. But through these lessons and through this happening, you know what to do and kind of how to fix it. Maybe you will learn what vinyls you prefer over a different one and vice versa. It really is, learning in general is just trial and error. You can learn a lot from other people, and I do for sure. But I definitely get the most learning out of it, not only when someone shows me, but when I mess up and I have to, figure it out and stuff like that. But that's like it with anything, embroidery, learning a new skill. Cooking is definitely trial and error. I have more errors than not, but okay. There we go. We're so close. So close. Okay, just this one little piece right here, and we will be all done. Okay, so now I'm just going to work on getting any like leftover pieces that kind of stayed, like this one, or just clearing the way for that vinyl to be able to stick down. We just don't want that paper being underneath that vinyl. Okay. All right. This doesn't work. We can always peel it back up and cut out a new one. But I like using a clear transfer paper. If you are in a pinch and you don't have transfer paper, if you have, what is it called? It's like a yellow tape. It's not painter's tape. I'm going to have to think on that. I cannot think of the name now that I'm trying to mention it, but there's several different transfer sheets out there, different things that you can use and vice versa. I'm going to have to see. I'm going to pull up my picture real quick on the machine so that way I can see how it's supposed to look. Okay. So the orange, some of the orange parts are going to be covered by this gray fish. If we didn't have that paper there, it'd be really washi tape, masking tape. That's what it's called. You can use masking tape or washi tape. Thank you so much, Miss Beverly. Okay. So I slowly looked at it above and then laid it down. Again, trying to lay down one side and then laying down the other, especially with rounded objects. And now we're just going to go in. We don't have to worry about that paper sticking down. The paper's pretty stuck to this transfer sheet, so I don't think it's going to give us an issue. Then I'm just going to peel it back on itself. So it is sticking down there, but what we can do is we can just peel it up. And it's not lined up the best. I'll show y'all in just a second. Stick that down real quick. Okay, so throughout all of the errors that we had, or the bumps in the road, it does look really good given the circumstances. There's a little piece of paper right there. I don't know if you can tell. I can see it in person, but it's just a little off right there. But again, when we have the clear tape, it makes it a lot easier to line it up versus if you have, you know, the masking tape or something like that. But that's how you would layer vinyl. There are ways, you know, that make it a little bit quicker, like different types of vinyl. And, you know, you can layer them on top of, since this is a rounded object, what you could do is you could, you know, take what you had, lay it down, or I wish I had something cut out. Keep what you have there. So in this case, let's say the orange bottom of the fish, we would keep that down on this piece. Take our other piece, which is the outline of the fish, lift that up and then line it up on a flat surface versus a curved surface. And then we could pick it up all at one time. So there are different ways to layer vinyl, different tips and tricks out there, and different stuff that you can do. And I will actually make a video on that. It may be a little bit longer than 3 minutes, but definitely like, hey, this is just one way to layer vinyl. And then the next day, this is another way you can layer vinyl. And if you're done using these transfer sheets, this one had paper already stuck to it. So what I do is I just grab, just stick down all of my little scraps of vinyl or anything, and then just stick them together. Easy cleanup and stuff like that. Looks great. Would make a super cute themed summer gift set. Yes, it would, especially if we did like the outline in blue. And you can see where I ripped it accidentally when I was peeling it up too quick. See it? So it's stuck down and it's not going to separate from each other. But unless you're looking for it, it's not something that you immediately see. And you could even, cover that with something else, little bow or something like that. So do y'all have any questions? Any questions on the screen? I'm going to switch these real quick. Any questions on the screen or any questions about the scan and cut stuff y'all would want to see? I'm going to go through the different comments real quick. Maybe once I'm going to try the transfer sheet and see if I'm going to cut something out again once we get done. So that way I'm not, wasting y'all's time. And then that way, if it does work, then that's a new tip and trick I can show y'all. And if it doesn't work, then I can just let y'all know next time, hey, it didn't work. This accident was a good learning curve too. It happens. Yes. If it's going to happen, it's normally going to happen on camera. So I'm glad y'all, some people don't like when it messes up, and it can be frustrating, I'll admit, when it's messing up and it works right. But it's a great learning opportunity, like you said, because then you get to see how to problem solve and kind of like if you need to save it and this is what you have and you don't have any extras, it's perfect so you can see kind of how to fix it. I like this with problem solving and trying to experiment different techniques when things go wrong. Yes, that's the way we all learn. I tried finding the digital embroidery app. How do you spell it? Miss Beverly typed it down in there. Were you able to see that? It's called Artspira. It's ARTSPIRA. And that is a free app you can download for, I think you can do it on tablets, you can do it on iPads, and you can do it on phones. Thank you. Coral reef to cover it. Yes, that would be perfect. That's a good idea. That is a really good idea. Or you could do it like, I know we were saying something on top to cover it, but what would be cool, have you ever seen the water bottles where the inside of the wrapper actually has like a picture? You could do it on this side, so that way like the coral's behind it. There's just so many that you could do different things. Maybe do Canvas workspace one day. Thanks for your time. Yes, Miss Sissy. I plan to do a couple more lives, hopefully more if it all works out. I'm definitely getting a new camera and a new tripod and trying those. With the Canvas workspace, it would be, me showing y'all on the computer and maybe going to the camera every now and then. But I figured it would be too much switching around, and it would probably take about 2 hours just on a class about Canvas workspace. So I definitely have that in the books, just working on finalizing a date for that live. But it's something that y'all be able to go back and watch over again and stuff like that. I plan also, I talked about handouts. I plan to scan those handouts into a Dropbox folder and then try to link the Dropbox folder into this live stream so that way y'all can download them. I'll be honest with you, I drew the pictures and I wrote them about 2 years ago. So my handwriting's not the best and the pictures aren't the best, but it's definitely something that helps because, like I said before, I have one for Canvas Workspace and I have one for different type, like rhinestones for the scan and cut, where to get free SVG files, and like what can you put adhesive vinyl on and stuff like that. And I have, but like I wrote down some instructions for the different buttons, where to find them, and the 2 different edit screens and stuff like that. So I will definitely upload those. I'm thinking the best option would be putting it in a Dropbox folder and then just linking that Dropbox down below in the comments of this. But also, if you are in our Facebook group, and let me pull that up so y'all can see what it looks like. It is called Ruthies Notions Creations, and this is what, let me type it in, Ruthies. This is what it looks like. So I do like announcements in here. We have, see Miss Robin, if she's in here, she did this one. And oh, that's actually very, very similar. She did such a good job. She actually etched on glass, which is amazing. I love seeing that the other day. I was so proud of her. I love seeing the stuff that y'all do and just how y'all are creative. And we all get different ideas from each other. So that's what I love about this group, just the community and getting to share stuff with y'all, but also getting to see, you know, what y'all do and answer any questions that y'all may have. But we have different stuff, like, you know, announcements. If there are any updates, I normally post them, whether it's Baby Lock or Brother. And yeah, it's just an awesome group. I do have the files in here if you're already in that group, but again, I plan to put them in the comments. How to find them is right here. You will scroll over to files. And then I have Canvas Workspace, Rhinestone, and Scan and Cut. I'm going to click on Scan and Cut. It gives me, I'm going to say View File. See, my handwriting's not the best, but you have, this is the first screen. This is the second screen. What can you use iron-on vinyl for? Free SVG websites, how to bring stuff in, how to use the pins, and you just have different stuff on there. So I like handouts. I am one, like I told you earlier, I love hands-on and having like notes in front of me so that way I can go back and read them. So they are in the group again, but I will be posting those in the comment section somehow. Probably Dropbox would be the best option. But thank y'all so much for joining me. I will stick on here for another minute or two just to answer any questions that y'all have. But again, I am putting new classes up soon. So check out our Facebook and check out YouTube. I don't know if it makes announcements when we do lives or if we have a live scheduled. So if you turn on the notifications, then you'll get notified if we have anything coming up. So definitely check out. I'm not the best about putting it up on the website when we do have a live class, but it definitely is posted on Facebook in the events tab or in YouTube. But I'll try to be better about posting it on the website so y'all can see that too. It was so good to just meet everybody and just see and interact with everybody. I wish I could see y'all in person, but I love virtuals just because, you know, we get to reach people from all over the world. So thank y'all so much for joining me again. And thank y'all for letting me share my knowledge. I really do. I love sharing my knowledge. There's so much in here. Sometimes it's hard to just give it, but I wish I could just take everything in my brain and like put it out in files where y'all could just take it sometimes. But yeah, thank y'all so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it, and I love doing these. You're from Virginia? That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining in today, and I'm definitely going to do the 3-minute video how-tos. Those were such a great ideas. Thank y'all all, both Miss Beverly, Miss Penny, and everybody who commented about like different ideas and stuff like that I can do. I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to start doing those either, each week, have a different day that I do it, or just routinely. So I really do appreciate it. And I loved meeting y'all. So I'm just going to stick around. I am going to write down that idea so I don't forget. Never mind. My paper was here. But also I did this in a hands-on class in the store, but I would really like to I have so many ideas for the scan and cut running through my head of different classes. Sometimes it just comes down to time and being able to schedule it. But we did in a hands-on class puff vinyl, which it's flat whenever you're cutting it, but then when you heat it up, it like expands. It's really, really cool. So we'll have to do a live about that. And then there's color changing vinyl, which we did in that hands-on class, which I would love to do on a like virtual also, just so y'all can see like the different types of vinyl and just get that experience. So again, thank y'all so much for watching. I had so much fun today, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can either comment on this video, and I will try my best to get back to you, or you can join our Facebook group and you can message me, or you can call the store at 850-403-7332 and you can ask for Sarah, and I would be happy to help y'all on the scan and cut any way I can. So thank y'all so much. Vinyl sequins using the scan and cut. Yes, that is a great idea. They don't sell the rhinestone kit anymore made by Brother, but there are some out on the market. I will either show y'all those or show you faux rhinestones, which are really, really cool. The faux rhinestones are made with holographic vinyl, and so it looks like rhinestones, but they're safe for children, like to put on infants' clothes or onesies and stuff like that. And they even look cute on adult clothes. Like I wear mine sometimes. But I'll definitely have to do another live about that and just out of the box projects, because there's so many things that you can do. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank y'all so much for joining in today. It was so nice to meet everybody and just get to see y'all. And that's what I meant. Oh, okay. They are so pretty once they're done. I'll definitely have something scheduled soon for that. So keep up with our Facebook, YouTube, website, and all that. And hopefully they'll be posted soon. So thank y'all so much again for joining in. I hope y'all have a blessed day. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.